By this point, I think we've all figured out that I'm a big fan of Nomos. My first ever mechanical watch was a Nomos, the Tangente Sport Hodinky limited edition, and I have loved them ever since. But one thing I don't think people talk about enough is the history of German watchmaking. Which is weird because it might be the most interesting strain of watchmaking, and it is definitely the most unique. I feel like our world has become so fast-paced. You can say the stereotypical stuff like TikTok, McDonald's, people want their stuff and they want it now. But a little bit closer to home, Watches and Wonders. Some of the most incredible watch brands in the world unveiled their novelties that have been years in the making just a few weeks ago, and it already feels like old news. I feel like the watch industry is this fast-paced machine, and we get so lost in the hamster wheel of what's new, what's hot, what's right now, that we forget to pause, zoom out, and look at the whole picture. And you really can't fully appreciate these new Nomos Tangente 38s without remembering German watchmaking history. German watchmaking is simultaneously old and storied, and new and rebuilding. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Something I need to say before we go any further is that this video is sponsored by Nomos. So I've been partnering with them over this novelty season, talking about their new watches so far for 2024 with the very celebratory Tangente 38 dates. I have just gotten word from the fabulous team over at Nomos that the watches are sold out online, but they are still available through the authorized Nomos dealers. You can find your nearest retailer with the retailer locator on the Nomos website. You just click your favorite watch on the Nomos website and find the retailer there. If I was you, I'd give your nearest retailer a call before going in, just to make sure it's definitely in stock, it hasn't just sold. So if you are wanting to get one of these, they're selling out fast, the squeeze is on, make it happen. But this video is a little less of looking at the specifications and looking at what these watches do, and a little bit more of why. The significance of Nomos, the Tangente, and watchmaking in Germany, because that really is the heart and soul and driving force behind these new 38 dates. Okay, let's get into it. To me, Glashutte represents resilience, strength, and skill. Watchmaking in Germany has survived 2 world wars and the separation of East and West Germany. It hasn't been an uninterrupted process or an easy process. It's been rebuilding, remaking, and sometimes just out and out creating something new. Glashutte to me represents, let's pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, put in the hard work, and do it with excellence. These Tangente 38 dates released for Watches and Wonders 2024 celebrate 2 distinct things. More than 175 years of watchmaking in Glashutte and over 31 years of the Tangente. I never know how deep to get into the history stuff because even though it fascinates me and I love it, I know it can sometimes put other people to sleep. So here's the Coles Notes version. Is Coles Notes still a thing? It just means, here's the quick version. Since the 15th century, Glashutte and a lot of Saxony in general lived on mining. When the silver and copper ore started to run out, the communities needed something new and they were getting desperate. So in 1845, the Saxon king Friedrich August II tasked a foremost watchmaker, Ferdinand Adolf Lange, who you might recognize from A Lange und Söhne, but he tasked Lange to bring some new life to the area and to teach people how to make watches. And I think it's easy to forget how recent this all really is. Whenever I watch World War II films, I always have this separation in my brain from it. It feels like, that was so long ago. This is in black and white. This is ancient history. And it's not. When I went to Dresden and Glashutte, it was a startling reminder of how recent it all was. For example, the Church of Our Lady, which is this beautiful church right downtown Dresden, only finished reconstruction in 2005 from the bombings in Dresden. 2005. The 2 world wars and GDR, or the separation of East and West Germany, was a massive, massive blow to German watchmaking. But, as we know, Glashutte rebuilt after the reunification of Germany. And in 1990, Roland Schwertner founded Nomos, only 2 months after the fall of the Berlin Wall. Roland, I'm so sorry, I already know I've ruined saying your last name. I tried so hard. Schwertner.
Roland Schwertner.
Why is my German so bad? But by 1992, Nomos began the production of their 4 basic models, the Tangente, Orion, Tetra, and Ludwig. All are still core watches in the catalog to this day. Now, something I need to say here is, I don't think the average watch collector fully understands how big of a deal Nomos is. I know I didn't until quite recently. They are the largest producer of mechanical timepieces in Germany. No one is outputting or selling more watches than Nomos in Germany. And on top of that, their movements are 95% created on site. Plates, bridges, and wheels are milled by hand. Beveling is done by a watchmaker. And this is all done at a price point that almost doesn't make sense. Like, I understand if the long lugs aren't for you or the Bauhaus design language, but you really can't argue with how impressive and how important Nomos is. Which brings us to these celebratory Tangentas for this year. This is what they are honoring. Glashutte's storied past that has been filled with dark times and so much hope. And over 31 years of the Tangente, the brand's flagship model. I'm sorry if I ever get too excited about Nomos or I'm too enthusiastic about them. I know it sounds like I fully drank the Kool-Aid, but they will just forever have a special place in my heart. And the more I learn about them, the more I am endeared to them. The Nomos Tangente is a special watch for me. As I said earlier in the video, it was the first mechanical watch I ever owned, and it is one of the watches that I credit with getting me into watches. For me, it was the Cartier Tank, the Nomos Tangente, and the Black Bay 58 that were the foundational watches of making me into the horrifying watch goblin that I am today. And they are 3 of the brands I get accused of talking about too much on this channel as well, so... You talk about what you like what you like, and you talk about those things. If you ever have the chance to go to Glashutte, do it. It reminded me why I fell in love with watches in the first place, and Nomos, namely, is just so badass to me. In a world where more and more brands are getting swallowed up by big conglomerates, Nomos has remained fiercely independent, fiercely themselves, and making watches and evolving in a way that feels true to them. But yes, okay, I've rambled on long enough on here. If you were hoping to learn more about the new Tangente 38s, I've made a few videos. I'll put them in the corners here for you to go check out. You can see all the new colorways, get all the technical specifications, deep dive on the movement. I've been ending these videos by talking about which one of these models is my favorite as time goes on. Pull up the leaderboard. And we're now in the knockout round. These are my 4 favorites. So we've got the Super Sardine, Ziegelblau, Schlossgrün, and Schneesturm. But there can only be one favorite. So one of the watches getting kicked out today and will not be advancing to the semifinals is the Ziegelblau. I really like this watch, but I'm just more of a cool color gal. And now some of the hard exits need to happen. Oh, I really don't want to choose between these. I like all 3 of these so much. But if I have to remove someone, Schneesturm, oh, you're out. Which means the final 2 watches remaining are Schlossgrün and Super Sardine, my 2 favorites of this drop, and I will be getting one of them. So my next video, and my last Nomos video, is going to be talking about which one of these I ultimately got and why. Well, I say last and final Nomos video. Of course, it's not going to be the final Nomos video I ever make, but the last of this series. But I've talked long enough. I'd love to know in those comments down below, which watch do you think I'm gonna choose? It's down to 2. This video was so much research and digging into the history of Glashutte, and if that's something you would like to jump into the deep end with, you'd like to learn more about, I'll leave the resources that I used in my description down below. And yeah, let's thank the gorgeous, fabulous, wonderful Pope tier patrons.